Rhodes, and this is Crash Course Education. Today we are going to talk about reflective practice. Reflective practices help us understand what we do and how we can improve. This is an idea that can be especially beneficial to new teachers as they learn and grow in their classrooms. We will also touch on double loop learning and ideas made popular by theorist Schon. So let's reflect on that together, shall we? Schon was the professor of urban studies and education at MIT. Throughout his career, he held a wide variety of jobs, and in all of them found great value in the idea of self-reflection as a way to adapt to change. He drew great inspiration from educational psychologists such as John Dewey, Jean Piaget, and Erik Erikson. Yes, that's actually his name. Schon found that change is an essential and undeniable part of life. Therefore, we need a way to react to it. Enter reflective practice. Schon has identified two different ways that professionals reflect: reflection in action and reflection on action. Reflection in action is when people think on their feet, gaining understanding and applying it to actions in the moment. For example, a teacher wrapping up an activity earlier than expected when she sees that her students are getting restless and disengaged. Reflection on action is spending time wondering about why we took certain actions. This would be like a teacher looking at her lesson plans after the class and asking critical questions about how the lesson went and what she could do better in the future. When a teacher or any professional reflects, Schon suggests looking at three elements of one's practice: the governing variables, the action strategies, and the consequences. The governing variables are dimensions people try to keep within limits, essentially one's values or goals for their classroom or workplace. Then there are action strategies, what people do to keep their governing variables within the proper limits. Finally, there are consequences, the positive and/or negative results of an action, intentional or accidental. Within the action strategies, Schon points out that there is a large gap between theories and values that people preach, called espoused theories, and the actual way that people teach and practice, called theories in action. There are two different ways to use these elements when something goes horribly, horribly wrong. Because when you're a teacher, you're bound to have one of those days. Let's go to the thought bubble.
Schon outlines it as follows. When something goes wrong, we ultimately have two choices in how we learn: double loop learning and single loop learning. Single loop learning is like a thermostat. It looks at action strategies that will return things back to normal and produce more preferable results. In other words, trying different ways of achieving the same thing. On the other hand, double loop learning starts with questioning the bigger picture, the governing variables or the goals of the classroom, and then changing the action strategies and desired consequences accordingly.
Thanks, Thought Bubble. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great. How exactly should I reflect? Well, that's where Schon's theory falls apart a little bit. One of the biggest critiques of Schon's work is that he never specified what it should look like when we actually reflect. Ironically, Schon didn't really reflect on his own theories. Some researchers, like Minke Wieringa, asserts that Schon's theory could be very useful for teachers to creatively problem solve during lesson planning, experimenting with and evaluating action strategies and governing variables until one produces a lesson they will be proud of. Wieringa suggests that a teacher speaking and reflecting out loud during lesson planning will help them problem solve and build stronger lessons overall. Along the same lines, Joelle J. and Carrie Johnson built on Schon's theories to make sure that teachers have a full view of reflection that not only involves objective ideas, but feelings and emotions as well. To do this, they outline specific types of reflection. The first one, descriptive reflection, is the idea of setting the problem, coming up with a specific question or problem through which to examine your practice. For teachers, this might be describing anything in the lesson you weren't satisfied with, or if something went wrong during class. Comparative reflection takes your problem or question and frames it from multiple perspectives so that the teacher or practitioner can get an accurate view of the context in order to come up with possible solutions. This would include looking at the problem from multiple perspectives, including multiple kinds of students, so that you can better understand how the lesson was received by the class as a whole. The final type is critical reflection, making choices among your given solutions in order to gain new understanding of this situation. Cool, this is more specific, but what can a teacher do and what steps do we take to be more reflective? The answer isn't simple. Reflection is a complicated idea and takes practice and experience to become great at. It involves both intellectual ideas as well as emotions. And to do it successfully, you must be open and honest with yourself. The British Council does provide some tips to get started and to get yourself thinking about what you do and why. A way to start is to gather information about what happens in your classroom. You could do this through a teacher diary, a peer observation, or by recording yourself teaching. From there, you will be able to better apply Schon's theories and those of his contemporaries in improving your teaching practice. An important thing to remember in reflection is to celebrate the successes as well as tweaking the places you need to improve. By doing this, you can become an educator that is continually learning and bettering your teaching style so that you can best support your students as they learn and grow. Thank you so much for watching. This script was written by me, the idea was taken from John and Hank Green's Crash Course series, and my sources are listed in the description below. Thanks for watching, bye!